is Biden Antiochus Epiphanes. Giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kakodash. We see here, I'm not even going to read it. You can read it for yourself. These articles were put up within a day or two. Anyway, I'm going to go into the scriptures right now. This is First Maccabees 1. Oh, you know what I want to do? I'm going to go to Proverbs, which I did something on Proverbs 29. I'm going to go back to it. Verse 16. Proverbs 29, verse 16. Says, when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. Now I'm in First Maccabees chapter 1. I'll jump around. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian. Macedon is north of Jerusalem, the land of Israel, our forefathers' land, the land of Edom, the land of Moab and Ammon. It's north of that. So it's obvious that the Edomites had scattered, just like the Israelites, into various parts of the planet, even unto this part. And we're over here on this side of the world, and so are the Edomites. It said, Al came out of the land of Chittim, which that's south of the bottom of the boot of Italy. It's that island, which is called Cyprus today. Had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So prior to that, it was the Medes and the Persians that took down the Babylonians. And it was the Greeks that took down the Medo-Persian Empire. The movie 300 shows you those wars. You know, one story account called the 300 with King Leonidas, which, by the way, was a Jake. And it was Jake in the Greek army as well. It said it made many wars and won many strongholds. Won many strongholds, meaning you took down forts, you took down cities, and you made them your own. And this is how Esau took down the Americas, through their sword, the sword that was given to them by Isaac, which is Yahweh Shai. and slew the kings of the earth. Right, you slew all the leaders of the known earth, which is on that side of the world, the east. And at that time you had Israelites living in the Americas, North, Central, and South Americas. And then eventually they took that down pursuant to Revelation 20, which is one of my favorite chapters, because in a few words it covers Revelation. The 20th chapter covers a great span of history. It goes from the time of Columbus all the way up to now. So we're in the end of this thing. The book is getting ready to get closed and open back up again, so you can be judged. It says, and went through to the ends of the earth. Well, they didn't go to the Americas. They went through the regions of from the Middle East up into Assyria, which is north of Jerusalem and Edom and Moab. Because when you read the account in the Maccabees, it speaks about the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Edomites. It said, and went. Oh, by the way, you had Edomites that knew that they were Edomites at this time, and you had Edomites that didn't know that they were Edomites. They would call themselves Greeks, and eventually they started calling themselves Romans. So they were Edomites in a Gentile state of mind, just like Israelites in the Israelite state of mind. They're Israelites, but didn't know that they were Israelites. At one time, we didn't know that we were Israelites. So these are Edomites in a Gentile state of mind. That's the new one. And went through to the ends of the earth. Didn't go to the Americas. The Israelites are already over there. And took spoils of many nations. And that's what you do when you take a nation down. You take their spoils. And part of their spoils, by the way, were the women and the children. The women and the little ones. Now, why did you take the women? You took the women to have sex with them, and had children with them other women's nations. And the older woman you made slaves and concubines. And you had these women of these other nations that you had children with. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's a whole another subject. I believe Gideon had children with the other nation's women. So you had, and that explains why we look like everybody, even today. And that's why you had Israelites that had Edomite features even back then. Because there was a thing about women of the other nations. That goes right back to Genesis. That goes to the history of Israel. They saw the women of the other nations looking fair because they looked different. Like myself, certain Moabite women, I be, oh, she looks good. You know why I say that? Because she looks different. I don't say that to no Hamite. No, I'll say it to Israelites that live in Nigeria. You know, for you ISUPK, that group, they say that if you're from any part of Africa, you're a Hamite. No, you had, and I believe Captain Tazariak sees that now, because the scriptures say, I'll give you one precept. Well, Isaiah 11 is one. Deuteronomy 28:64. It said we were scattered, and we were literally scattered throughout the whole planet. So there's Israelites throughout the whole planet that look like the other nations. Anyway, let's go back to the 3rd verse. And went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. In other words, no one was able to raise up against the Greeks. That was the great power at that time. And then the Romans, and that was the greatest power going back to the ancient world, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. Tributary meaning they taxed him. They didn't necessarily say, oh, we're going to put you in slavery. They said, you can do what you want to do. You can keep your so-called religion, your nationality. You can keep your lands, but we're going to tax you. And if you give us taxes, and they got the taxes by the sword, if you fail to give us taxes, we're going to take your land and we're going to destroy some of you. And that's what the Romans did. And after these things he fell sick, which was Alexander, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. And the kingdom was parted into 4 parts. You had 4 major, you actually had a 5th, but the 4 majors that came out of the major generals that came out of Alexander, which is also spoken of in Daniel 11th chapter. Daniel 11th chapter is that prophecy already took place. So anybody that goes to Daniel 11th chapter and say, oh, that's talking about the Antichrist, they don't understand. You err not knowing the scriptures. But anyway, when you go to Daniel 11th chapter, the first three or four verses speak about the Medo-Persians, then Alexander, then his 4 generals, which I'll name them briefly: Lacomasus, Cassandra, Seleucid, and Ptolemy. Now, Daniel 11 chapter, that whole chapter is dedicated to the 6 Syrian wars, which were against the Seleucid dynasty and the Ptolemaic dynasty. Now, none of these other Israelites will tell you that, because they don't know it, because it wasn't taught to them. The high priest, the 7, never taught this, because they didn't know it. They didn't understand the understanding of Daniel the 11th chapter, so they never went into it. They briefly pulled out a verse or 2, but they never broke it down, which fulfills, I have become wiser than my teachers. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable. I read that. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. So he died at the age of 32, because the Most High set it up that way, that you're going to take these nations down, and then you're going to get sick at a young age, and you're going to die, because that's the part that Alexander had to play. And his servants bear rule, everyone in his place, and after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them, many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. That's why I went to Proverbs 29:16 first. So when evils were multiplied, they were multiplied through who? These Edomites, even though they wouldn't call themselves Edomites. 10th verse. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and that's in the history, that's in Daniel the 11th chapter. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Now the Romans at that time had to be Japhetic, because the Edomites eventually took over and became the Romans. But the first Romans were really the Etruscans, the Japhetic people, the Minoans, which they were dark skinned and had curly to woolly hair. The current people of Polynesians and the Samoans, the Togans, the Hawaiians, those are the sons of Japhet. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen, in this point the Greeks, that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well, so a lot of them sold out. So now let me jump down.